This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump suggests the U.S. take over Gaza.
The place has been hell.
I'm Jim Roope.
Questions about the legality of moving American inmates to a prison in El Salvador. Correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, and the U.S. bans packages from China and Hong Kong. We'll have details.
All remains from the deadly air collision over the Potomac River recovered.
We're going to continue to provide support to them.
I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, investors shook off the trade war talk and sent stocks higher. Disney reports earnings today. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Maryland officials have unveiled designs for replacing Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Flights to Guantanamo Bay in progress. All ahead on America in the Morning. At a White House press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, President Trump talked about Mideast peace and Iran and suggested the U.S. take over the Gaza Strip. Jim Roope reports the plan would include moving nearly 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza.
Prime Minister Netanyahu is the first foreign leader to meet with Mr. Trump since he took office last month for his second term. Mr. Trump saying the two had a, quote, fantastic meeting, and the prime minister saying Mr. Trump is just simply fantastic.
You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. And that's why the people of Israel have such enormous respect for you.
President Trump then said that the U.S. will take a very large leadership role in the Middle East.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it.
The president did not unveil any specifics when he unveiled this surprise plan, other than saying the U.S. would be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons in Gaza, while Palestinians are settled in neighboring countries.
And there are many of them that want to do this and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza.
He suggests the U.S. could take over and develop it, creating, quote, thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of, end quote. He even went on to say that the Gaza Strip, that he said had been, quote, hell, could be developed to the point it could be considered, quote, the Riviera of the Middle East, end quote.
And we're going to give people a chance to live in a beautiful community that's safe and secure. And I think you're going to see a tremendous outflowing of support. I can tell you, I spoke to other leaders of countries in the Middle East, and they love the idea. They say it would really bring stability, and what we need is stability.
Prime Minister Netanyahu praised what he calls President Trump's thinking outside the box.
You cut to the chase. You see things others refuse to see. You say things others refuse to say. And after the jaws drop, people scratch their heads. And they say, you know, he's right. And this is the kind of thinking that enabled us to bring the Abraham Accords. This is the kind of thinking that will reshape the Middle East and bring peace.
Netanyahu said, too, the two leaders see eye to eye on Iran, a country, he says, that tried to kill both of them. The prime minister saying that he's in solidarity with Mr. Trump on ending Iran's aggression in the Middle East and ensuring that Iran never develops a nuclear weapon. I'm Jim Roope.
The offer by El Salvador's president to take in and jail violent American criminals along with migrants has been met with optimism by the White House and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, but there are questions as to whether it's legal. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
President Trump says he's exploring whether he can legally move ahead with El Salvador's offer to accept and jail violent American criminals. It was an unusual offer. El Salvador's president told Secretary of State Marco Rubio the Central American nation would take American deportees of any nationality, including Americans imprisoned for violent crimes.
If we had the legal right to do it, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know if we do or not. We're looking at that right now. But we could make deals where we'd get these animals out of our country.
Hours earlier in Costa Rica, Rubio noted the obvious legalities involved.
Obviously, we'll have to study it on our end. There are obviously legalities involved. We have a constitution.
Yet noted it's a very generous, incredible, unprecedented offer.
No one's ever made an offer like that. And to outsource at a fraction of the cost, at least some of the most dangerous and violent criminals that we have in the United States. But obviously the administration will have to make a decision. I raised it yesterday because it's an incredible offer and an unprecedented one.
Saying it would let the U.S. outsource some of its most dangerous criminals at a fraction of the cost of imprisoning them in America.
We have other countries that would take them. It's no different than a prison system, except it would be a lot less expensive, and it would be a great deterrent. Send them to other countries. If we could go a step further, in other words, we're talking about getting the criminals out of our country that come in through other countries illegally, right? The illegal migrants, as I call them. Well, we have people that are just as bad as them in our country. If we could get them out, I'd be very happy.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Sleep better together. Save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, limited time, exclusively at a Sleep Number store. Update on the tragedy over the skies of Washington when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues with the Wednesday forecast. AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy has an update on the latest storm system.
A major storm is developing in the Plain States today. We'll be spreading a wide variety of precipitation through many states in the nation. There'll be some snow in the northern plains from eastern Montana into North Dakota and Minnesota. Some freezing drizzle in parts of northern Missouri into Iowa and Illinois, where there could also be some snow and sleet mixing into the region. Additional snow and ice will spread eastward into West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, and Maryland. And then the system will continue to build snow and ice through the rest of the Great Lakes into southern New York and New Jersey tonight. In New England, it will remain cold today with some sunshine to start, but clouds will build in ahead of the storm. Highs will range from the single digits in northern Maine to around 30 in the south. Meanwhile, rain and thunderstorms will develop on the southern side of this storm. From southern Missouri eastward to Kentucky and Tennessee, a few of the storms could be strong with heavy rain, hail, and gusty winds. There'll be a few showers farther to the south through Louisiana into Alabama, and afternoon temperatures along the Gulf Coast westward to Texas will remain quite mild with highs in the 70s and 80s, 10 to 15 degrees above the historical average. Part of the plain storm is in part because of the portion of the recent western storm heading eastward. This system will still lead to some rain to start across parts of Southern California with a few rain and snow showers farther north along the coasts of Washington and Oregon, and snow will continue through the Cascades into the northern Rockies. That's the weather across America. Chicago, Illinois will have mainly cloudy skies with a mixture of snow, sleet, and freezing rain this afternoon with a high up to 32. Savannah, Georgia will be warmer with sunshine and a high of 77. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. All of the victims in last week's deadly mid-air collision between a military Black Hawk helicopter and an American Eagle passenger jet have been recovered. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
67 victims' remains have been recovered from the Potomac River. 60 victims were passengers aboard American Eagle Flight 5342 that was seen being collided with by a Black Hawk helicopter. 4 victims were crew on board the American Airlines flight. 3 victims were on the chopper. The final remains recovered yesterday.
These remains, as well as remains that have been recovered previously, are in the process of being positively identified by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner of the District of Columbia.
Assistant D.C. Fire Chief Gary Steen said this week the work of the recovery teams has been heroic.
And everything imaginable that you can think of, right, that is what they're dealing with day in and day out. And we're going to continue to provide support to them.
D.C.'s chief medical examiner confirmed that 65 of the 67 remains recovered have been positively identified. The remaining wreckage of the plane is still being recovered. The helicopter's next. The NTSB's investigation continues, and investigators are still retrieving data from black box recorders. I'm Clayton Neville.
The United States Postal Service announced last night it is temporarily suspending accepting packages sent from China and Hong Kong until further notice. The Postal Service did not provide a reason for the suspension or say how long it expects it to last. The move comes after Beijing announced it would counter President Trump's new 10% tariffs with retaliatory tariffs of its own, including on coal and other energy products and agricultural machinery. Letters will not be included in the package suspension. When we return on America in the Morning, Alphabet shares down and the JOLTS report on labor opportunity after these messages. America in the Morning continues. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Markets rebounded yesterday. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has the update.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning day for the markets. Investors just shook off Trump's trade battles. The Dow was up 134 points. The Nasdaq popped 260. We're going to be watching Google parent Alphabet shares today. They tanked 6% after hours last night on a revenue miss for its quarter. But video game maker Electronic Arts shares were higher in extended trading on a good quarter. Snap shares soared after hours on its numbers. It owns Snapchat. Chipotle reported a strong quarter, too. Today, we get numbers from Disney and Ozempic maker Novo Nordisk. Some investors are just trying to focus on earnings reports right now. They're trying to ignore tariffs.
We lost 40-something points. We gained back the 40, tariffs on, tariffs off. I think everybody really realizes it's not make or break for the economy. It's not make or break for earnings growth.
Well, they're seeing through it.
We're trying to see through it. I do think that's exactly the case.
CNBC's Mike Santoli and Sarah Eisen. One election, and things have changed for investors.
We had last year, we had a very strong year. We had 57 record highs. So in those kinds of environments, you're setting yourself up where there's not a lot of margin for error. Hence, you saw the market sell off quickly in a hair trigger fashion last Monday with DeepSeek, and you saw it this Monday with the tariff news.
Spokes Paul Hickey on CNBC. Another investor says U.S. economic growth can offset the trade war worries that are permeating the markets.
The economy right now, the Atlanta Fed tracker came out, I almost fell off my chair. It was 3.9% for the current quarter. The economy is running strong. So we don't like tariffs. It's a lot of uncertainties, but I think we can handle it because the economy is very strong, and it's led by the consumer, by income, by spending.
Hightower's Stephanie Link on CNBC. Gold hit a record high yesterday. Its third record for the year so far. Coffee also hit another record high. Job openings dropped sharply in December in the new JOLTS report on job opportunity and labor turnover.
Expecting 8 million-ish, 7,600,000. That is the smallest month-over-month job openings. Well, going all the way back to SEP of last year.
CNBC's Rick Santelli. We get the big January jobs report Friday morning. On today's watch list, in addition to earnings from Disney and Novo Nordisk, we get quarterly results from Harley-Davidson, Uber, Ford, MetLife, and Allstate. We find out private company hiring numbers for January in the new ADP report. Asian stock exchanges reopen after being closed for the Lunar New Year.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Coming up next, update on the Baltimore Bridge collapse when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. The design phase is underway for a replacement Baltimore bridge that was destroyed by a ship collision last year. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has an update.
Maryland officials have unveiled designs for replacing Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. That's almost a year after it collapsed under the weight of a cargo ship that lost power and veered off course. As the state's first cable-stayed bridge, officials say it'll modernize the skyline.
Maryland is the bridge between America and the rest of the world.
Maryland Governor Wes Moore.
This will be the place that the country will remember not just what resilience looks like, but what economic growth looks like.
The project could be completed in 2028 with a price tag of almost $2 billion. The original Key Bridge took 5 years to construct and was completed in 1977. 6 construction workers were killed when the bridge was destroyed last year. News conference audio courtesy of WMAR. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Military flights departing the U.S. to send undocumented immigrants to America's facility at Guantanamo Bay have begun. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
The first military flight from the U.S. to Guantanamo Bay is the first step in what's expected to be a surge in the number of migrants held at the Navy base in Cuba, which was primarily used to detain foreigners associated with the 9/11 attacks. President Trump has said the facility can hold 30,000. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was assigned to Guantanamo Bay when he was on active duty. He calls it the perfect place to house migrants. But Amnesty International's Amy Fisher says sending immigrants to Guantanamo is cruel and costly and cuts people off from lawyers and family. Trump has been actively deporting with flights to India, Ecuador, Guam, Honduras, and Peru. In addition, Colombian officials came here and flew 2 plane loads of migrants back to their country. I'm Julie Walker.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Trump suggests the U.S. take over Gaza.
We'll own it.
I'm Jim Roope.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appears on track to becoming the nation's health chief.
Mr. Cassidy.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Opposition to Elon Musk's Doge, readying legal battles and legislation. I'm John Stolness in Washington.
President Trump looks to Ukraine's minerals as war rages. I'm Clayton Neville.
Buyouts for CIA employees, China's tariff reaction, and FBI workers file suit against the Justice Department. We'll tell you why.
What are some of the big ads to look for on Sunday night? I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues with an eye on the potential for some severe weather developing. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
The recent western storm is heading eastward today and tonight, with a major storm developing in the plains as a result. This system, though, will still provide some rain to start across parts of Southern California, with a few rain and snow showers farther to the north along the coasts of Washington and Oregon. Snow will also continue through the Cascades and into the northern Rockies. Several inches of snow will fall in these areas through the day and tonight. The rest of the west will be largely dry through Nevada into Utah and southward to Arizona, with some sunshine. Highs will be in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that major storm in the plains will be spreading a wide variety of precipitation through many states in the nation today. There will be some snow through the northern plains, through eastern Montana, into North Dakota and Minnesota. Some freezing drizzle in parts of northern Missouri into Iowa, and then spreading into Illinois, where it will also mix with some snow and sleet. And we'll have additional snow and ice spreading eastward into West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, and Maryland. And this system is going to continue to build snow and ice through the rest of the Great Lakes into southern New York and New Jersey tonight. In New England, it will remain cold today with some sunshine to start, but clouds will be building ahead of the storm. Highs will range from the single digits in northern Maine to around 30 in southern Massachusetts. Meanwhile, rain and thunderstorms will develop in the southern side of the system from southern Missouri eastward to Kentucky and Tennessee. A few of the storms in Kentucky and Tennessee could become gusty, and then there'll be a few showers farther to the south into Alabama and westward to Louisiana. Afternoon temperatures along the Gulf Coast westward to Texas are going to be quite mild, with highs in the 70s and 80s. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. saying that the nearly 2 million Palestinians in Gaza are, quote, living in hell. President Trump declared that the United States should seize control of Gaza and rebuild the seaside enclave. Trump said that the Palestinians should be moved to countries like Egypt and Jordan because of the devastation following the October 7th Hamas-led terrorist attack, and that those nations, along with others in the Middle East, would accept them. Jim Roope has a recap.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it.
The president did not unveil any specifics when he unveiled this surprise plan, other than saying the U.S. would be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons in Gaza, while Palestinians are settled in neighboring countries.
And there are many of them that want to do this and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza.
He suggests the U.S. could take over and develop it, creating, quote, thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of, end quote.
I can tell you, I spoke to other leaders of countries in the Middle East, and they love the idea. They say it would really bring stability.
Many questions remain. Would the Palestinians be forced to leave if other Middle Eastern nations would accept them, and if it means American boots on the ground to provide security? In initial reaction from the Senate, Democrat John Fetterman called Trump's plan provocative and would support a potential American military occupation, while Republican Josh Hawley did not think it's the best use of American resources and money. There were pro-Palestinian protesters outside the White House last night chanting, "Donald Trump belongs in jail and Palestine is not for sale," in reaction to the proposal. Adding to President Trump's cabinet, the Senate confirmed former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins to lead the Department of Veterans Affairs, and Pam Bondi is the new Attorney General. As for Robert F. Kennedy, Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports he won a key GOP senator's backing, putting him on track to become the nation's health chief.
I believe that that vaccines play a critical role in healthcare. All of my kids are vaccinated. I've written many books on vaccines. My first book in 2014, the first line of it is, "I am not anti-vaccine," and the last line is, "I am not anti-vaccine."
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appears on track to becoming the nation's health chief after winning a vital GOP senator's backing, as the Senate Finance Committee voted on advancing Kennedy's Health and Human Services nomination to the full chamber.
Mr. Cassidy.
Louisiana's Bill Cassidy, a doctor who has said Kennedy's vaccine skepticism bothers him, voted with all other Republicans.
He will be the secretary.
Cassidy says in exchange for his backing, Kennedy's promised, among other things, not to change existing vaccine recommendations.
I will watch carefully for any effort to wrongfully sow public fear about vaccines between confusing references of coincidence and anecdote. But my support is built on assurances that this will not have to be a concern, and that he and I can work together to build an agenda to make America healthy again.
Democrats like Raphael Warnock say putting Kennedy in charge of America's health is simply wrong.
I simply do not trust him to oversee the CDC. He's unqualified, and I dare say everybody here knows it.
A full Senate vote will be scheduled, as will another for Tulsi Gabbard, after the Senate Intelligence Committee advanced her nomination to be the nation's intelligence director.
I decided to vote that I will vote for her. I believe she's committed to strengthening our national security.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Democrat lawmakers in Washington say they're enacting legislation and filing lawsuits in an effort to slow down or stop the billionaire head of President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk. John Stolness has that story from Washington.
Democratic House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announcing the Stop the Steal Act yesterday, aimed at preventing Musk and his Doge team from gaining access to the federal government's private and sensitive data on U.S. citizens.
Nothing screams democracy like having a secret squad of company men pull off a hostile takeover of America's Social Security and tax information.
Headed by Musk, Doge was created to help cut about $2 trillion of government spending, restructure some federal agencies, and potentially lay off thousands of workers as part of restructuring. Democrats believe Musk is creating a shadow government to do so without congressional approval and are up in arms over Musk's team being given access by the Treasury Department to the government's payment systems. Republican Senator Tom Tillis claims oversight of Musk and Doge is happening.
We've got oversight. If he goes too far, I'll be the first person to step up. He went too far.
It comes as most staff of the U.S. Agency for International Development, also known as USAID, were put on leave last night. Republican Senator John Cornyn was asked about the future of the agency.
Can they just shut down U.S. aid without congressional consent?
My understanding is Secretary Rubio, who's the acting secretary, has no intention of shutting it down, but I do think it's worth taking a look at it and seeing how the money's spent.
Reports indicate the Department of Education could be next in Doge's crosshairs. Speaking from the White House yesterday, President Trump reiterated Musk is working for him.
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him.
John Stolness, Washington.
The U.S. eyes Ukrainian resources and CIA staff offered buyouts. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues. I'm John Trout. The Trump administration has an eye on key natural resources in Ukraine as the country remains at war with Russia. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
President Trump blames the Biden administration for allowing war to break out during Biden's term in office.
You know, when I left, we had no problem. There was no Ukraine and Russia fighting. There was no October 7th. There was nothing. And some very poor leadership led to a lot of problems and a lot of death. And it's a shame, but we'll put it out. We'll put out the fires. We have a lot of fires, but we'll put them out.
He told reporters there's already been a lot of progress made to end the war between Russia and Ukraine.
We'll see what happens, but a lot of progress has been made. We're going to stop that ridiculous war.
The president wouldn't say whether or not he has spoken with Russian President Vladimir Putin since his inauguration, but he did insist communication is there.
It's got to stop, so whatever I can do to stop it. And we are having discussions, yes. We're having very serious discussions about that war, trying to get it ended.
This week, President Trump said his administration wants to make a deal with Ukraine to access its key mineral resources. According to Forbes, 70% of Ukraine's $14.8 trillion of critical mineral resources are in an area controlled by Russia. That leads many to ask if the U.S. will be able to access those resources. A resolution to the conflict seemingly part of the equation, but the Trump administration tight-lipped on specific plans to get a deal done soon. They're encouraging both sides to come to the table. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Central Intelligence Agency has offered its entire staff buyouts. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the CIA's offer is part of the Trump administration plan to offer 2 million federal employees buyouts, which could include 8 months of pay and benefits if they quit. CIA Director John Ratcliffe wanted to extend the same offer to his employees, despite the offer excluding federal workers with national security roles, and also offered the option of early retirement for longer tenured employees. As the U.S. suspends incoming parcels from China and Hong Kong, Beijing is hitting back as fallout from President Trump's new tariffs continues. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
China is countering the U.S. with tariffs of their own, saying it will implement a 15% tariff on coal and natural gas products and a 10% tariff on crude oil, agricultural machinery, and large engine cars imported from the U.S. Starting February 10th. China also announced export controls on minerals like tungsten used in tech products, an antitrust investigation into Google, and a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization. U.S. tariffs against China take effect today. President Trump put a hold on tariffs against Mexico and Canada Canada for 30 days after the two countries acted to appease his concerns about border security and drug trafficking. Even though tariffs on Canada were placed on hold, the Trump stand is not going over well.
Canadians are furious.
The AP's Rob Gillies reports from Toronto.
They're looking to see on the label where things are made. They're booing the American national anthem at sporting events in Canada. Canadians feel like the relationship with the United States is now broken.
I'm Jennifer King.
FBI agents have filed a lawsuit against the Justice Department alleging retribution over the work they were ordered to do on the January 6 investigations. Lisa Dwyer reports.
FBI agents who participated in investigations related to President Donald Trump have sued over Justice Department efforts to develop a list of employees involved in those inquiries that agents fear could be a precursor to discipline or termination. The class action complaint seeks an immediate halt to the Justice Department's plans to compile a list of investigators who participated in probes that upset President Trump, saying that the list is retaliatory in nature and intended to intimidate FBI agents. The scrutiny of career agents is considered highly unusual, given that rank-and-file FBI agents do not select the cases that they are assigned to work on, and there's been no evidence provided so far of actual misconduct. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
General Motors has abandoned their robo-taxi division, Cruise, and will be using the software for their pedestrian self-driving cars. Chuck Palm has that story in today's Tech News.
GM has announced an acquisition of its Cruise autonomous taxi division and a layoff of nearly 1,000 employees. General Motors announced that it completed the full acquisition of Cruise, bringing a one-time startup company completely under its roof and giving the axe to its CEO, Mark Whitten, along with several other of the top officers. GM funded the startup to the tune of over $10 billion, but now they believe it's time to change focus. The robo-taxi business is largely being abandoned in favor of autonomous technology for their personal vehicles instead of the already competitive market of robo-taxis with companies like Waymo and Tesla. Cruise robo-taxis have made headlines, and not in a good way. Once in 2023, when a Cruise robo-taxi struck a pedestrian and dragged him nearly 20 feet, and back in 2022, when about 20 of the vehicles managed to get into a standoff that blocked San Francisco traffic for nearly 2 hours. Find me on X at Chuck Palm.
With a check of midweek sports, here's Robert Workman.
NHL, the first-place Jets shut out the Hurricanes last night 3-0 for their 7th straight win. 29 saves for Eric Comrie. Red Wings won their 7th in a row, 5-4 over the Kraken in a shootout. Capitals scored 4 times in the third to pound the Panthers 6-3. The last of those, an empty netter by Alex Ovechkin. That's number 878 for the Great 8, 16 away from Wayne Gretzky. Maple Leafs got a hat trick from William Nylander as they snuffed out the Flames. Islanders edged the Golden Knights for their 8th win in 9 games. Sabres nicked the Blue Jackets for their 4th in a row. First time they've done that in over 2 years. Bruins blanked the Wild. Canucks whitewashed the Avalanche. Wins for the Lightning, Devils, Oilers, Ducks, Canadians, and Utah. NBA, the Celtics sank the Cavaliers 112-105 in a battle of the best in the East. Lakers clobbered the Clippers 122-97. Luka Doncic watched from the bench. Sixers shaded the Mavericks 118-116. Joel Embiid with a triple-double in his first game in a month after a knee injury. Blazers toasted the Pacers for their 5th straight win. Victories for the Knicks, Nets, and Bulls. College basketball, number 1 Auburn on easy win over Oklahoma. 9th-ranked Michigan State was upset at UCLA. And number 11 Marquette lost at number 12 St. John's. That's 9 straight wins for the Johnnies, who have a Friday night date at 2-time defending national champion Connecticut. Super Bowl 59 is Sunday in New Orleans. The Chiefs against the Eagles. Philly coach Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, this game and anything worthwhile in this world is not instant gratification. It takes getting better every single day.
That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. Jeff Bezos' next stop, the moon, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Back with you on America in the Morning. Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin gave NASA a feel for the moon's gravity without having to go there. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has details on the experimental space flight.
Jeff Bezos' rocket company gave NASA a brief taste of the moon's gravity without straying too far from home.
Commanded to start. 2, 1.
Blue Origin launched 29 lunar technology experiments to the edge of space from West Texas. Plans called for creating a few minutes of artificial lunar gravity by repeatedly spinning the capsule. It was Blue Origin's first attempt at mimicking lunar gravity, which is 1/6 that of Earth. Mimicking the moon's gravity on space flights can help push research at much lower costs, and future trips can closely mirror Mars and other solar system gravity environments. The New Shepard rocket landed as planned following a late morning liftoff.
And touchdown. All right.
Beautiful touchdown of the capsule today on our 29th mission here. Incredible to see.
The capsule with the experiments parachuted back to the desert to close out the 10-minute flight. Audio courtesy of Blue Origin. I'm Haya Pinjwani.
With the Super Bowl coming up this weekend and President Trump planning to attend, the question to viewers is, do you watch the big game for the ads? Kevin Carr tells us what we have to look forward to.
Many viewers watch the Super Bowl for the commercials, and for a reported $8 million for a 30-second spot, the advertisers are making it count, releasing some of the ads early online. Introducing their new Big Chocolate Lava Milk, Reese's passed on notability to hammer home a message.
Don't eat lava, eat ooey gooey chocolate lava.
Bookings.com ditched the human celebrities altogether.
Yeah, she sells. You got anything more boutique?
And while Adam Brody starts the Pringles ad, Nick Offerman's mustache steals the show.
Whoa!
Not to be outdone in the facial hair department, Eugene Levy's eyebrows help sell Little Caesar's new Crazy Puffs.
Have you tried the new bacon ones? There are bacon ones?
Levy's TV co-star Catherine O'Hara and Willem Dafoe hustle for Michelob Ultra.
Excuse me, would you consider playing us?
That's no Ultra.
While Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez take it slow with Haagen-Dazs.
Hey! What happened to Fast Life? Not today.
In a blast from the past, Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal recreate their classic movie scene.
Add that as a sandwich.
Don't worry, it's for Hellman's Mayonnaise.
I'll have what she's having.
And finally, playing celebrities off each other, Stella Artois lets Matt Damon be David Beckham's long-lost brother.
My brother is a famous soccer player? Yeah. So how famous are you? Like Matt Damon famous? Maybe Ben Affleck famous.
And to that point, Ben Affleck gets another Dunkin' ad.
I never did no research on nothing. Look where I'm at.
I'm Kevin Carr.
Here's hoping your Super Bowl pick wins. That's our show for today, Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.